Welcome back to Hoochos. Today on Hoochos, I am releasing this. This is my 3D printable, modular, vertical hydroponic system. Today I'm going to show you how to put this together. I'm going to run through with you how to mount this system, how to run the plumbing, set up the reservoir, how to manage the nutrient solution, and the problems that I had with the initial grow media and the nutrient solution. The video gets a bit messy in the middle because I had to stop the system every now and then to redesign the actual parts because of leaks and stuff. That is a nutritional deficiency. Look at those. So there was a lot of development that went into this. This has been like a few months, maybe 4 months that I've been designing and printing and reprinting. So I am really excited to show you the end result. So if at any point you get bored, I'll leave timestamps and go and watch the end because it's incredible. Obviously all these files are available on my Patreon, so let's get to building it. Okay, so here in front of me I have a few of the different components, the modules of the system. Now you're gonna have to forgive some of the 3D prints. They're an absolute mess because they were made when I had the 3D printers in the studio, and because of all the plants, it is way too humid for 3D printers in here. So I've moved my printers to a better location, and you can see that the print quality is not comparable. The main components of this system are, we have the plant modules. Now they'll have 3, 2 or 1 planting spaces like so. We have the spaces. Now this is where they give the plants room to grow. So the plants will be growing up and into this space, and they allow the water to travel down the pipe as well. They also allow us to use these. These are the wall hooks, and they will allow you to mount our system onto a wall. I have 3 different styles of these at this point in time, but there will be more because I want to implement this in as many ways as possible, not just against walls. One of the designs has this hose hole bracket, so we can run, you would just print off 1 set of these so that your feeder pipe, which will feed your system, will run through this bracket. That just eliminates the need to run a hose up the wall. I'll probably also have, by this time, mounts for star pickets so that we can have these pipes mounted maybe on 3 sides of a star picket. So the way that you figure out where your mounting hook is by assembling your system. Now you can print this at any percentage you like. This is 100%, which I think is about the right size. 75% will still work, you'll just have less root space. But when you're assembling it, here is the secret to the system. This is sphagnum moss, and I've been using this in all of my hydroponic house plants moss poles. These moss pole designs were originally screw designs, and I have actually changed them to the same bayonet design that this system works with. So you can actually interchange these 2 styles of prints, which means that you can have a moss pole that is hangable with this spacer block. Okay, so all we need to do is empty our sphagnum moss into a container, separate it out, and it'll look like this. And from here, we just take the module that we want to use. As I said, forgive the really bad prints. And we just fill up the wide space behind where the plants are gonna go. Not too tight, but not too loose either. We want it full as possible. And if you like, you can fill up a little bit of the top section, like so. And then these 2 just join together. So just try not to get any sphagnum moss coming out of it while you're joining them. And there is our vertical hydroponic system modules together with the sphagnum moss. From here, we can just do the same all the way up. It just depends how high you want to go. And we aren't just limited to having 1 single module at a time. We can actually double the modules up if you like. If you just wanted to have, say, 2 singles on a little bit of an angle, you can do that. All right, well, that's pretty cool. It's like a plant saver. Not bad. It's pretty solid too, like, look at that. That looks about right. At this point in time, I'm actually missing the top and the bottom. They're both printing right now. I'll have to wait for those to print, but you won't. What we are gonna do, somewhere in this vicinity, on the ground, we are gonna have a reservoir. A pipe running along my wall will capture the water running from down these vertical pipes. I just want to figure out where I want these to be mounted. I'm going to have this not above the PowerPoint, probably about there. So I've just designed these to work with the standard countersunk timber screw. I've countersunk it and put a hole through all the prints so that they work like that. The way that I'd recommend doing this is putting it where you need it to be and remove your system. Put your center screw in first, like so, and that will allow you to turn the bracket so that you can get your system vertical. This is actually going to hold up the system, but I don't trust just one 3D print to hold it. I probably put like 3 of these just along the system in the appropriate spot. Because you've put one screw in, you can line them up, take off your system, and then screw this one in as well. So I'm going to pop them in every second spacing, essentially. Each of these spacings is going to be the same. We can twist it, we can have it raised, we can have it lower by a space or 2 spaces. You know, it's very versatile. Okay, so I'm going to have 3 modular towers spread evenly across this panel. I'm just going to measure that up now. 900, which is 450. That's going to allow us to go past the PowerPoint as well. I've also made some extras. These are just smaller spacings so that if you want a more compact wall setup, you can do that if you like. Also, it allows you to vary the distance between different styles of plants. I've been adjusting these as I go too. They weren't fitting together quite as I'd like. You can see on the old style, it's like a flat edge, and I've changed that. And you'll see my prints have actually gotten better too because I've changed printer. And now we have a chamfered edge. It just allows the prints to really neatly go together. I'm gonna set these up, fill them with sphagnum moss, and then once we've got them all on the walls, we can set up the return and the pipe that is feeding it. And I've just got some tops that allow you to thread 4mm tubing into the top, and we'll get to this. And this is the return. They go on the base, and these are gonna run into the pipe that I'm gonna mount now. To capture the water at the bottom, we're using some 90mm pipe. So this is perfectly spaced except for this one in the middle. So I'll just drill a hole in the middle here, and that is going to give us a return going back down to our reservoir. So I'm just going to quickly design and print some 90mm pipe holders for the wall. Okay, so I just designed and printed these. These are just 90mm pipe holders, essentially. They're gonna hold it exactly the right distance off the wall so that we can hold our pipe up. And I'm just gonna have these spaced like this, and my res down this end, actually. No, yes, no. Down this end, so I'm gonna screw this onto the wall. I actually need to put an extra hole into this pipe. Well, this res will work fine because it's already got the holes drilled. That's gonna fit perfectly, and our holes fall directly into our pipe, which is fantastic. Okay, now we'll make that fall into our reservoir. This is going to live here, and our pipe will just drop directly into our reservoir. I need a bigger hole just so that the lid can come on and off easily. Off it goes. Oh, that'll do. How good. And that'll sit there, and our pipe just connects there, drops straight in. Now we can set up the pump and the irrigation lines. Okay, so Pretty much everything is going to be available on the Hydroland website. This is the cheap Hydroland pump. It is more than enough for this system. I'm just using a BSP to BSP fitting in the top, which I'm going to add a quick connect adapter so that we can easily connect and disconnect our irrigation hose with a quick connect adapter. And that will just clip on like so. I'm going to be using a flexible irrigation hose. This stuff is basically interchangeable with garden hose. It's the same size and everything. So if you want to use garden hose, use garden hose. And we're just going to fit that to our quick connect adapter like so. I'm just going to drop my pump straight into my res via the lid, connect my pipe to my pump like so, and we can run this hose down the back of our return pipe. I'm going to remove this because that is where our hose is going to thread up through. So it'll go up through the back of, there's a hole in some of the mounts. So you can just thread that up. Just as a quick fix, these are just metal saddles, but I'll design some of these and add them to the file so you don't have to buy them. I'm just going to use these saddles to hold our pipe in place. I'm just putting an elbow in up the top, and this is going to run across to the other two pipes. It should just sit behind our pipes. I'm going to cut the end. I'm actually going to add in a tap that's going to be turned off because I want to continue this line of irrigation down the wall when I extend the system. And I'm going to put some 4mm barbed off takes onto this. I'm just using the flex hose at the moment, but I'm going to drill a diameter that's smaller than the 4mm barb just to make it easier to push them in. So I'll just drill straight into and push my barbs into that hole like that. Good. And we're going to connect up 4mm tubing to that like so. I really hope this doesn't leak. The tops of our towers have a hole in them. It turned out smaller than the 4mm tubing, which is quite annoying. So I'm just going to drill that out as well. Last one. Oh, good. Well, if that's about it, that's about it. Okay, there we go. There is our whole system set up. And the pumps, well, it's all ready to go, really. I just need an end cap for this end, and we can get it running. End cap, we can run our return, fill it up with water, and I'm actually quite worried. Because I haven't tested this out at all. Water could come out and just go everywhere. And there's heaps of places there could be leaks as well. But that's the fun. I am hoping with all that sphagnum moss in there, it will slow the water down and just let it trickle. And any leaks will just trickle back into our return pipe anyway. That is the big hope here. Okay, so the res is half full. That'll be plenty just to give the system a bit of a run. So let's do that. Okay, I'm plugging it in. I can hear it working. I can't see any problems so far. Oh, there's a problem. That is leaking out there. But I think if we, okay, we're good now. I think once this is, oh, there we go, another leak there. That's not good. Once we get all this grow media wet though, it's not gonna try and get away. It's not gonna try and get out. Yep, there's another one wet. So the little parts that I've got that hold water for the plants seem to be the bits that are allowing it to overflow, which is interesting. I might need to put a hole in the bottom of those so that they don't do this. I can easily come along and just drill holes in these, which is fine to do after the fact. But once once we've got that grow media wet, I think it'll be fine. We have water returning in here. I'm just gonna play with it for a bit. I think I'm gonna need to put holes where the holder is so that it doesn't, oh, I don't know. I might just wait until that grow media is all wet, and it's getting wet now. Okay, I figured out what's happening. Where I've packed it really tight, until it gets wet, it just tries to redirect out the holes. So once that's wet, I'd say that'll be absolutely fine. Once it finds a path going down that wet sphagnum moss. I think the idea here is you're going to need to wet the sphagnum moss before you run the system. So maybe do each section, dunk it, or you can do what I'm doing and just work the sphagnum moss into the water so that you end up with a nice moist medium. It'll just stop leaking. Do the towels get heavy? No, they're not too heavy. Okay, so I'm happy with how that's running. I'm going to set up the nutrient. The nutrient I'm going to use is Campbell's Diamond Blue, which is available on the Hydroland website. I'm going to dose the tank up, then we can start planting. Okay, so this is just pH adjuster, potassium carbonate, granular, so it's really cheap. All of this is available on the Hydroland website. So that goes in, give it a bit of a stir, use something other than your hand. Calcium nitrate granules mixed in hot water, like so. And Campbell's Diamond Blue mixed in water. This is a 70 litre res. I've done 50 grams of each nutrient. Usually it's 1 gram per litre, but I've mixed a little bit less strong for these plants. So I'm just gonna pour that in. And I'm gonna test our pH and EC. So our pH is 5.7 and our EC is 2.2. That's fine, and we can plant our plants. Now, throughout the video, a few of you are probably going, why are the plant spacings so small? It's because we're gonna be using this. This is the cheap cotton wool grow method paired with the rubber ice cube tray method, and this is bok choy. This is gonna be perfect because we can just press out our seedling, which is on the cotton wool, and we just place that into the hole, and it is held in place like so. So I'm gonna go and plant out the rest of the system and set up the time-lapse cameras so we can see how they grow. Okay, so the worst has happened. I've killed the seedlings. Well, I haven't killed them, but they're not coming back. And even if they came back, they wouldn't come back as strong. In these systems is sphagnum moss, and I think we're going to have to move away from sphagnum moss, unfortunately. I'll show you why. You can see the pH change. I got on top of this. So the pH that we're at right now is 6.3. I did get on top of this, but I think I'm too late. I'm gonna hold out because some of the plants are coming through. You can see the healthy leaves coming through. We may have saved it, but I am definitely not going to recommend that we use sphagnum moss in this system. Essentially what I think has happened is our sphagnum moss is decaying. The decaying started immediately and changed the pH immediately, so I'd say that it's not just decaying. There is an element to the sphagnum moss that is actually causing the pH to drop really fast. We had some radical pH drops at the start there. So our seedlings, they didn't react well to the pH change at all. That is a nutritional deficiency. So even though I got the pH back, I'd say the nutrient solution had been spent. It had gone way too far out. All of it had precipitated out. But what I want to do now is I want to replace all of my modular sections. And you can see that the modules used to have a hollow end. The way that it was designed, where they fit in, would stop the sphagnum moss from falling through. Now, that is not going to be the case with the next media we're going to use, which is cocoa. So I've redesigned the base so that we have essentially a grate. which the water and nutrient can fall through, but we'll keep most of the cocoa in place because we're not running a high flow rate here. We're running not much flow at all, actually. What's going on here? Well, that might be another problem. I don't think that the nutrients were feeding as well as I thought. So it's probably just been stuck with that high pH without, when I adjusted it even affecting the plants. We're just gonna change up the media because I'm just not happy with this sphagnum moss anyway. These are the seedlings I'll be using. They were raised underneath the sun shelf and they are raised in a cocoa media utilizing our ice cube tray technique. I'll just be filling these up. So this is just plain cocoa that we're filling these with. There we go, baby cos Jericho. I'm just gonna do a whole row of each of the types of plants essentially, and they'll just pop into the holes and we can just fill those with cocoa, like so. And these can just be replaced into our modular system, which you can see is running at the moment. So I'm actually gonna turn this off because I don't want this nutrient polluting the cocoa that I'm using to replace it. Now these do not look happy, but they will be happier in the end. Okay, so that's the first one done. I'm gonna go and do the rest. Okay, so I'm just going to reset the reservoir, empty it out, start with fresh nutrient. This is gonna be with Diamond White, and then we can just run the system and I'll keep an eye on it with the Blue Lab Guardian. So I'm gonna turn the system on, make sure it's flowing correctly, and hopefully we've got the water traveling down the center and not out the sides like is happening here. Okay, so what I actually think we're gonna need to do with this system is we might actually need to put drippers in the top to control the flow rate so we can have it turned all the way up but slowly dripping. I'm gonna leave it for a bit, but that's probably what I'm gonna recommend. And hopefully this system just equalizes and we're all good. So it's been a couple of days since I put these in. You can see that some of them are clearly doing really well. But what I wanna do, these varieties here, so this is the Baby Cos Jericho. We've got green oak leaf, and over here, the one that's left is Drunken Woman. So don't get me wrong, I bloody love 3D printing. But this is actually, this is taking up a lot of my time. Not a bad thing. I completely redesigned it a couple days ago. So now, this is what we look like. It is going to allow us to achieve the same thing with a little bit more cocoa media around the front, with the same grate, but it's going to give us an elevated lip so we don't get the running down the wall effect that I'm getting here. So these ones aren't doing too well, which gives me a really good excuse to change them into another pot, essentially. So I'm going to take these down. We can just turn this pump off, change them part by part. Now I've also designed a fully surrounded one, which would allow you to have a 360-degree garden bed, essentially, on each of these. So I'm going to see how these ones go first. If these ones are a success, we might even try it outside. So let's fill these up. I was thinking about putting scoria in the bottom or on top so that when the water drips, it's not taking any cocoa with it. But I just want to keep it simple for now, just a single grow media, and then we'll have a look in the future at other alternatives. We're going to take some of our seedlings from our existing system. Well, and you can actually see their roots are going through the system and they're actually growing. We're just going to chuck them in here. Yeah, all right, let's turn it on. All right, so we've got leaks from these two. This one's not leaking though yet. These ones are doing really well. I don't get any more leaks. These plants are doing better. So I'm almost 100% sure that that is a variety trait. I'm going to try and take these plants without damaging them. Printed off more of the leak-proof ones and we'll just set them up and see how they do. So I'm going to switch them all out now, essentially. And you can see on the bottom there, you can see the roots coming out. So the system's working. The system is working. It's just the overflowing. It's just a bit temperamental, but these fix it. So this has been a long process. Oh yeah, okay. So there is, as you can see, if we're just using cocoa, there's a hole going right through because the water's washed the cocoa through. So that's actually not what we want to happen. The way we're going to fix that is a layer of scoria on the bottom of our sections. So the scoria mix is going to go like this. I'm going to have scoria on the bottom. So just plain scoria. I'm sure that the clay balls will work as well, but the clay balls might seal around the holes in the bottom, whereas the scoria is so rough that I doubt that that's going to happen. We get our scoria, and we're just going to do a layer of cocoa coming out to our cocoa so that it wicks, and we fill up the rest with scoria, and that's going to stop the water from hitting the top of the cocoa, and it's going to stop the water from dragging the cocoa through the bottom, and that'll allow the roots to just sort of fall out. And then we can fill the front of it with just plain cocoa. So this is going to give us a gradient of cocoa, so that as the water falls, the scoria stays in place and holds the cocoa at the same time as the cocoa being able to wick from the area of the water falling and also up into our veranda. I'm just going to add in our lettuce. You could even just, like, when you're filling these up, it's going to be way easier for you because you didn't have to do all this trial and error. Because you'll just be able to plant seedlings into the front of these. This is a really nice lettuce. This is upside down. Green oak leaf lettuce. 3D printable plant tags available on my Patreon. This is full of roots. So it's working. Have a look at that. I'm actually really hesitant for this one because these lettuce are going really well. These are the baby cos, the Jericho baby cos. Look at those. Even with the, mess they've been creating, it's still working. So the proof of system is there. It's just, I've just got to get that. Just got to get the design right. And will you have a look at that result? Now, I have so much to talk about and I don't even know where to begin. First of all, the new veranda system works and I love it. It hasn't eliminated all leaks because just today, a new one has sprung up. Now, what I'd actually recommend is having these full circle verandas every so often so that it catches all the nutrient and then funnels it back down into the system. Other than that, it's worked perfectly. I'd recommend having these outside. I don't think many people will have them with a massive grow light against a wall. I'm sure that this would make a really good feature wall in a restaurant or something where you could do that. Now the pH keeps dropping, and I'm like 70 to 80% sure that this is originally from the sphagnum moss leaving particulate throughout the 3D prints, but I'm not 100%. It's at 4.3 at the moment, and I only filled it up 2 days ago, so it just keeps dropping, and that is my only theory to explain it. I've just been topping the reservoir up with pH up to sort of combat it, but it's not ideal. It may look like these are a perfect green on film, but in real life, they're just a shade too light. I'd really like them to be darker. I can't even put my finger on it. It looks really good, but it doesn't look right. Let's talk about this. These lettuce, these are the drunken woman lettuce, and they just have not done well in this system at all. I've never grown them before, so I'm unfamiliar with how they grow. That being said though, it's not just this tower that's the problem. They went really badly down here in this tower as well, because I had a couple just to fill up this spot. And my control, which is down here, is doing exactly the same, and it's not even in a hydroponic system. It's just being fed nutrients every time I water all of the house plants. So that being said, this has been on the ground, which is a lot further away from the lights. And that's another thing I want to talk about. This has actually been a really interesting sample for a grow light. Because as you can see, it's like triangular almost, the growth pattern. Massive growth up the top because it's closer to the light, and then not so much down the bottom, which is actually, because we now know that this is incredible for lettuce, let's measure that so that you can play along. If you've only got a lux meter, I'm going to give you the lux as well. So I'm just going to give you the par to start with, and then I'll do the lux. We've got about 230 par here, 330 par here, and up here. So from here to here, it's about the same. You've got about 330 par. And as you go below this point, which is probably about right, it starts to really drop off, and you get down to about 170 at the bottom. So about 350 par. That's like ideal lettuce growing. Now this is lux, 13,500 lux. That was equal to roughly about 200 par. We're sitting at 18,850 lux. So almost 19,000 lux. If you have a lux meter, that's how you can measure this is just a full spectrum light. And this is an upcoming crack here that I'm doing. That's exactly what I've got here. So these guys are sitting on about exactly 330 par. That's worked really well. I wouldn't recommend Drunken Lady lettuce in this scenario for anyone really. These Jericho baby cos and the green oak leaf absolutely go for your life. One thing I would like to re-mention, put drippers up the top of these towers so you create back pressure on the pump as it's pumping, and you can adjust the dripper, and that means that one won't just take over and flow really fast while the others don't get any pressure. The dripper will also restrict the flow, allowing it to flow nicely through the cocoa. That is what I'm going to be doing in upcoming systems, because I want to have these guys outside. I think that the surrounding, I actually only threw some seeds in here the other day. You can see we've got some of the seeds coming up. I think that these surrounding UFO dishes are going to be the way forward for an outdoor system, because realistically the system size is so small, the footprint is so small that you could probably grow lettuce all the way around these. And you can see that putting the scoria on top has stopped the cocoa washing through. There's no hole in this, and it's allowing the nutrients to fall out the bottom as well. It's also providing that moisture to the cocoa and allowing you to start seeds in the system, which would be so much less of a hassle than this whole video. So don't even bother starting seedlings out of the system. Just throw them in the cocoa on your verandas. Now's the time that I get to I'm turning this off. I'm gonna pick up a whole row just to show you, I guess, how you can harvest it. We'll have a look inside one of them too, I think. Pull the top out. Look at that. And how simple is that? Look, and I can just hold. I could just take this for a walk if I wanted to. I don't know, this is pretty cool. And you can just place it back up on the wall. A garden saver. I mean, why not both? Vertical hydroponic system. How good? And we can just put it back up on the wall. Easy as that. Wow, that was cool. Alright, I'm just gonna take this top one off because I want to have a look what the root situation is. So, what do we got here? Oh yeah. So we've got some roots coming in from the top. Ooh, as you can see, again, our scoria is stopping all that cocoa running all the way through, but we have roots. You can see the roots coming out the bottom there. This is working wonderfully. And on the top, this is the top level, you can see the roots falling all the way down the system, but mostly contained within the module. It means that we're not getting clogs in our risers. And look at all that. It's like an Olympic torch of lettuce. All right, I am stoked with this result. It took a lot of work to get to, and I want to explore it more in a more accessible outdoor setting. But I hope you enjoyed this episode of Hoochos. I will have all of these 3D prints, the ones that don't work and the ones that do work, available to you on my Patreon, and you can give them a go yourself. More testing to be done, obviously, but I think I've cracked it. Happy hydroponicking, and I'll see you next time on Hoochos.